Now help me warmly welcome Ms. Dolly Tillottson.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Wow, this is quite a crowd we got here tonight. My talk is about ancient Egypt, but I've incorporated a little more things in there besides. I'll get to them a little later. Pyramids date back to more than 13,000 years. That's quite a stretch.
Is that microphone on?
Can you hear me?
Pull it over in front of your mouth.
Me and microphones don't get along. Be good. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, all right? Okay. Okay. Now, the pyramids of Giza are not the only pyramids in the world. We have a lot of buildings that are shaped like pyramids. They have the base. They come up. Some of them are capped off at the top. Some are not. The meticulous building of the pyramids, the intricate detail, is astounding. Today's technology has trouble creating something like the pyramids or like some of these other ancient buildings. Did you know that the pyramids of Giza are not perfect triangles? That they curve in on each side a little degree? Those were not seen or known about because it's just a little bit until you could see them from the air. And they're 13,000 years old. There are pyramids basically all over the earth, not just in Egypt, but all over. They're finding more all the time. They have found one in the Indian Ocean that is, they figure, is bigger than the Giza pyramids and older because they are underwater. Therefore, they were before Noah's flood, before the earth was covered with water. They found one that the steps going up the pyramid is very, very far in between the steps. So therefore, it must have been a very tall person to climb those steps. Part of what I want to bring to your attention is, how do you think they did this? They have a bowl over there in the museum there, and I'm not exactly sure, somewhere there in Egypt, that is probably, about this big around, and it comes up and it has a little lip around it, and it's hollow on the inside. Well, the dating mechanisms that they have now, this is built out of a solid stone, solid rock, but it's hollow on the inside, so it can be used as a container, and they figure probably it had been handed down from generation to generation because it isn't going to wear out. Today's technology cannot carve a container like that, where it would come in the lip, go down and around the inside. They also figure dating it, it's about 50,000 years old. It's a day or two past my birthday, but it's, many ruins all over the world that they have found where, well, there's one cavern in China. It was in a cave, like, that a fellow not terribly long ago just accidentally happened to find this cave and went down inside. And when he went inside, there was this gigantic cave. It had pillars 10 stories high. Pillars, not just rocks, but pillars that had been carved. They kind of had a, well, not a stripe, but like an indentation where something had carved those pillars. Once they got in there a little further, they found these several humongous statues, Buddha statues, and some of other things, 10, 15, 20 feet high. And they figure that this is thousands. I can't find the exact number here, but more than what you'd think. Now, my question is, where'd they get the technology for this? They have done things that we can't match today. They took a block that would have equaled one of the pyramid blocks, got it on a truck. They had to build a special truck with, I don't know, something like 10 or 15 of these big tires to get this, to hold this block up there, solid stone, just like the Egyptians used. And it took them, I think it was something like 4 hours to go somewhere between an eighth and a quarter of a mile. How long do you think it would have taken them to build the pyramid at that rate? And yet they did. There are ruins all over. There are ruins in China. There are ruins in Tibet. There are ruins in Egypt. There are ruins in America, right here. They have cave paintings. I tell you, indigenous peoples did their drawings usually on caves or on stone of some kind, because stone doesn't wear out. If they did it on a tree or in the ground, it would dissipate. It would leave, and there wouldn't be any record. They found a rock, a big rock, in Traverse Bay not too long ago. Huge, great big, well, bigger than this, cave drawing of a mastodon. Now, weren't the mastodons supposed to have died out before the human race came about? That was my understanding. Well, where did this come from? Who drew that? there are many theories, and a lot of them is called ancient aliens. That there were people here thousands and thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of years before us. Maybe we're ancestors, or they are ancestors ours. That isn't proven yet. But if an alien from another planet could come here with this technology to help us get started, that would be pretty awesome, wouldn't it? I know there's been a lot of talk. Oh, the aliens are coming. There's UFOs out there. Everybody, but the United States, we don't have them. However, people have seen them for hundreds of years. Talk to an indigenous person. They know. So do a lot of us, but we, no. It's coming about, though. I heard on a radio program one day, it was a few years ago, but it was a live broadcast. And there was these two guys, they were actually talking about UFOs and how the United States is the only country in the world that says, no, they're not here. And their pilots, when they fly across this area, and I'm sorry, I forget where that area was, but it wasn't terribly long. It was like, because they were like cargo planes, so they weren't real huge. But they were required to report the UFOs that they saw going. I had an experience when I flew to Utah a few years ago. Started out with this light, and I was sitting next to the window. And I don't like the window, but that's where I wound up. And there was this light that caught my eye out the front. And I watched it for a while, and then it was gone. And then pretty soon, it was right out straight from me. That light followed the plane all the way until we started coming into the mountains. And it was like a glow in the clouds. Not big. Probably you wouldn't notice unless you looked and watched it. But it followed. It went through with us. And then it disappeared. I don't know what it was. I didn't say anything to anybody else. My cousin said, oh, it probably was just a light on the plane. I said, well, why did it go in one place and then it was in another place and then it just followed? You could see it going through the layer clouds. Well, whatever. Some of the ancient buildings that they have found are dated way, way, way back. Of course, there's a theory of Atlantis. We've all heard of Atlantis. Was it there or was it not? I believe it was. I really, truly do. And I'm thinking, I don't know, but I'm thinking perhaps That's where we got some of the help to build some of these buildings that have been built. And I think, personally, they maybe not the Atlanteans, because we know they sunk. But we all have spirit around us all the time. And often we have helpers. And often this is where our help comes from. There are so many people that have come up with an invention, one over here and one over here. No contact whatsoever between, and they'll come up with the same invention. How does that come about? Carl Jung used to call it collective unconscious or collective consciousness. And maybe, but is it possible that we are receiving help from other beings? A lot of people say, oh, if we see a UFO, well, the first thing we're going to do is try to shoot them down. That's a normal response, isn't it? They tried that in World War II out in California, and it didn't work. They shot it and shot it and shot it and shot it and shot it, and nothing happened. But if they have been around for thousands and thousands of years, you think they're going to do us any harm now? I mean, if they've had all this technology, all these many years, if they were going to do something, wouldn't they have done it by now? If you find out they're there, are we going to go rat-tat-tat and try to shoot them down? Because that isn't going to work either. No, I think we have help, and I think that's okay. Because we are here for a reason. This is our planet. It's not theirs. They have been watching us for many, 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 many years. And I think if there is such a thing, they are here to help. And I say help because I think we are developing to perhaps rejoin them when we can absorb and learn to use technology in a peaceful way. The technologies that have been used up to now is really not all that, but we are expanding all the time, all the time, all the time. Back at the turn of the century, and I'm talking about the 19th century, from the 1800s to the 1900s, right in that interim period there, they were going to close the patent office because they figured everything that could be developed or invented had already been done so. Well, look how far we've come now. Every year, there's more. Every 5 years, you look back and say, wow, now we can do this. Every 10 years is phenomenal. We are going, we are learning. And if you don't believe me, look at the young kids today. and compare it to your own life at that age. Look at these 2 or 3-year-old babies sitting on the floor, playing the phones, and doing a good job. Getting a little bit older, 4 and 5, shoot. They know a lot of technology, more technology than what we knew at that time. Probably more than what we're going to know in the next 5 years. They can beat us. Do you think maybe we get a little help with that, even if it's up here? Even if they're open to listening more than we used to? And I think a lot of our older generations used to listen because we didn't have all the contraptions they have now. But they can figure things out so quickly. It'll make your head spin. We are on a joyride. We are in the throes of not only new technology, but new information that's coming in. And it's coming in all the time. And there's so much that government doesn't want us to know, or other people, whatever. But we know. And we are developing a brain. It's been there for a while. Where we can contact these spiritual beings, or whatever they may be, or both. We know the power of the individual, the auric field, the magnetism of us. We know the power of words and the gigantic power of thought. Just thought. How long ago has it been that you didn't know that? You kept your thoughts to yourself. Well, be careful, because they have been doing telepathy development since Uri Geller bent the spoon. Some of you younger ones probably don't know what that's all about. But anyway, with his thought, he just thought it, and he bent a silver spoon. We are coming into a higher intelligence, and we are it. This generation, your generation, my generation, the upcoming generations. It's awesome. But if we can do this with love, because they're not going to let us take anger and hatred and killing out there. They won't let us. And that's okay. We need to control it here, and we can, and we will. I want to thank all you guys for showing up tonight. It's really been a pleasure. God bless.